The moment our fellow geeks, dweebs, nerds, and other unfortunates have been fervently waiting for has finally arrived. It's time for TMI, Confessionals of the Nerd Kind. And now, your hosts, Jeff Nerf Herder Chandler, Jim Kaiju Baker, and Christina Yojimbo Henry. You can continue. And now, let's get on with the show. Here is TMI.
Okay, all right. We'll stay away from Fat Joe's. Yes. So,
no Fat Joe's.
I like
Merry
it.
Christmas. Merry Christmas.
Wow. Happy holidays. Merry Christmas. What do you got? Feliz Navidad. Happy Hanukkah. Happy Kwanzaa. And Merry Diwali. Did we cover them all?
No.
We might have missed.
I'm sure we haven't covered them all with our limited worldview that we do have. Yes.
Well, we are two single white guys here.
We often embarrass ourselves with our knowledge or lack thereof. So
the lack thereof.
Yeah.
Actually, we wear that pretty proudly. Yep. I didn't know that one.
But welcome, everybody. This is our annual holiday episode.
Woo! I feel like we were just doing our Thanksgiving.
We were
special. We were. That's true. Now that we're bi-weekly, it's
it was like the episode before last episode. That was that one.
Yeah. So after this, happy Easter.
Too bad there's not a Godzilla holiday movie, or we would be covering that because we've done two in a row already.
Can we just do Godzilla -1 again? I would be so on board for that.
I would love to see that again. And the news is that it's just been doing gangbusters in the box office, and it's now opening wider than it even was previously. I would like to see it in IMAX. It's not really playing locally.
I would love to see it in IMAX. Yes. No, that's no pun intended, but it is a monster. So
yes, it is.
It's good to hear. I like it.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen that yet, get out and see it.
Isn't it funny how at one point, like, they were like a nerdy niche? Because I remember, my kids grew up on Godzilla movies, and my son's friends would go home and be like, "Yeah, we watch Godzilla," and David would be like, "You mean like the movies we used to watch?" I'm like, "Yeah, they still make them." He's like, "What?" Like the guy was like dumbstruck. And now it's so mainstream. You got a TV show on Apple. You got Godzilla movies dropping left and right.
There are already some talk of nominations for this movie.
For his acting?
Well, not for his acting, but anything could happen, really. Mm-hmm. I think it won already the Critics' Choice Award. It hasn't been nominated for any Golden Globes because those nominations came out, but I don't think that it was released in time for the Golden Globes. But I'm interested to see if it makes it. Maybe at least Best Foreign Feature for the Oscars.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Gojira, a little Academy Award.
And who will show up?
I want to see him show up on the red carpet.
Yeah, who will show up to accept that award?
I guess we'll find out. Very cool.
Yeah.
All right. So what are we talking about? So we actually, I've been peppered by people this week. What are you talking about this week?
You've been peppered by people.
I've been
That's
peppered
some nice
by people.
Alliteration.
Perpetually peppered by people.
Are you popping your peas into the microphone?
Yes, they are getting very personated.
Yeah, you're going into the red. Peppered by people for what purpose?
I think they just want to know what we're talking about Christmas wise.
Oh, okay. Well, let's tell them. Let's tell them right now.
Well, I like your choice because this is a movie that my family watches every year since it came out in 2004, and that would be The Polar Express.
Dun it.
Yeah, a couple nice little songs going on in there.
Yeah, they're growers. They grow on you, especially if you watch this as we do. Year after year after year.
Yeah. Hot chocolate. We got it. Yeah. Tom Hanks not nominated for his singing ability, but and then with that, we are going to pair this up with a very odd choice on my end, but I went unconventional and I kind of wanted to see this, so I'm glad that I chose it. Krampus.
You've never seen it before?
I had never seen this before. Although I will tell you, the two of them together, actually, there's a couple little parallels,
correlations.
Yeah, basically, I think it all comes down to be careful what you wish for or don't wish for. This is what happens when you don't believe, kids. Creepy, dead-eyed Tom Hanks comes after you.
Or Josh Groban will sing you a song at the end.
That'd be great at the end of Krampus. It's just he just takes his hood off and it's Josh Groban.
That is such a treacly, heartfelt song at the end. You can almost picture him, tears rolling down his face as he's singing in the studio. But as I said, it grows on you. There's a certain charm to all those songs in the Polar Express.
Yes, correct. No songs in Krampus, by the way.
No songs in Krampus. Missed opportunity there.
Yeah, I wanted to see those little angry gingerbread men break into Aerosmith song. That would have been fun.
And we have a Christmas-themed concession this week.
Cool. I actually have some Christmas-themed news.
Do you?
So we are just wrapped in a bow here. So let's go. You want to do some news?
Let's do some news, yes.
We'll jump on board the Polar Express.
Okay.
All right. So I guess I didn't even know that this was still a thing, but Billboard charts still out there. And apparently Brenda Lee's Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree has hit #1 on the Billboard charts for the first time, even though the song has been around for 65 years.
Wow. I used to listen every Sunday to Casey Kasem's Top 40.
I think we all listen to Casey.
And that was a very important countdown. It mattered to me who was #1 back then.
Of course. Sitting there, hitting record on your cassette tape.
I doubt. Is there anything similar to that these days? Do they count it down?
I don't. I mean, Ryan Seacrest does New Year's Eve. I thought he had a radio show. I don't know, but you know what? Sometimes driving up to my parents' house, we'll find a station that runs those old Casey Kasem countdowns.
Oh, yeah. On satellite radio, Sirius XM, they have a 70s channel. And Casey Kasem, before his passing, must have recorded, they're not vintage.
New bumpers?
They're not vintage countdowns, but you can tell that he recorded them later just from his voice. You can tell he's older.
Oh, see, I think that we listen on terrestrial radio, and I've heard a couple of them where I'm trying to guess what year it is.
Every weekend on Sirius XM on the 70s channel, they'll run, it'll just be a random year from the 70s and say 1971, and it'll do the countdown from the week of December 17th, 1971. Okay. And Casey Kasem will host it, and he'll, go through it as if it was you're listening to it live, but you can tell it's probably re-recorded at some point, in the last 20 years or so. He probably did it like every week from the 70s. So they would have a library of them. And if he's recorded each week of the decade, you could have, an endless amount of, not endless, but quite a few varieties.
So you don't get the dedications and all the other stuff, the little stories that fall in between.
No, you do actually, because I think he's just repeating whatever he did originally.
Okay.
So it sounds, for all intents and purposes, like it is from that.
I don't think I realized that these were.
But there's there's no commercials because it's Sirius XM.
Sure. Yeah. But yeah, we had nothing better to do on the weekends but sit there and listen to that.
So getting back to our point, Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree.
So Rockin' Around the Christmas Tree has hit #1. I'm pretty sure that Mariah Carey's somewhere crying in her eggnog.
But I think that it's so diluted now. Like there's like a classic Billboard chart. There's the country. There's all these different ones. Yes, right.
It's not.
Is it like the classic Billboard chart that it's on #1, or is
you're already asking way too many questions? Yeah, you're already scratching the surface. I just saw that it was Billboard charts and it was a big deal. And she's
congratulations.
Yeah, you want to know the crazier thing? Go back next time you listen to this song. Think about the fact she was 13 years old when she recorded that song.
Really,
13? That's a aged old voice that she's belting out.
That's no Wayne Newton voice.
Of course, back then she probably was smoking 3 packs of cigarettes a day as a 13-year-old. So yes, congratulations, Brenda Lee. 65 years later, but I thought that was kind of cool.
Yeah.
That's it. That's all I want to bring.
That was never #1 to begin with.
Bizarre.
Sounds like.
Yeah, no. I wonder though, like how many like Christmas songs really hit. number one, because they're so fleeting, and you know, you don't cut a Christmas album in July.
I think that it's an industry. Actually, maybe people do cut Christmas albums in July.
Well, they probably do record them, right?
Yeah, record them.
They just don't get released.
Well,
that's like, what, isn't that the joke with the Dick Clark's Rockin' Eve, that's recorded like months in advance?
Mm-hmm. And in our time, it's less now, I think. But, you know, Christmas songs were always novelty songs.
Right.
Like Grandma Got Run Over by a Reindeer. I think that was a big hit. At least it got played endlessly. That was a big hit. Yeah. Well, the Chipmunks. Think about the Chipmunks. I actually own that album. And then you had your, you know, big rock stars doing like a one-off Christmas song, like your Bryan Adams and his Reggae Christmas.
Well, there was a whole album there.
Very Special Christmas.
Very Special Christmas, yeah, with a Keith Haring artwork on the cover.
Yeah. So occasionally these things would hit the charts, but then in subsequent years it would just become, you know, radio play.
So there you go.
Yeah. All right. So are we getting on board now? The Polar Express?
Get on board.
Are you getting on?
Are you getting on? As Tom Hanks, creepy Tom Hanks said.
When this movie came out,
yep,
it had such good word of mouth, meaning like you've never seen anything like this before in terms of animation. Yes. I would say, and this is maybe I'm going to put myself out there, that this was on like a Jurassic Park level of game changer stuff. We can joke about it all that we want now.
And we will.
But at the time, it was like, you got to see this movie. You know, this is.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it is. It's very heartfelt, and it's very. It's action packed. And as a kid, I mean, this came out 2004. So my daughter was 4 and my son was 2. I do remember seeing this in the theater. And as soon as it dropped on DVD, we owned it. We watched it every year. And it holds up. I mean, it does. It looks dated when you talk about like, you know, the CG that we see now with Avatar and some of this other stuff. And again, we're going to talk about the blank stare of these doll-eyed humans that don't really emote. And yet there's so much emotion coming from this. And I think it's a mix of some of the voice acting. The one interesting thing I want to point out is that initially Tom Hanks was supposed to play every character.
Every single one.
Every character. Mm-hmm. And I think they realized really quickly that was not sustainable.
Yes. One man does not have that much energy.
No. And it's not a smart move. It's like, really? You want me to? Does he get like multiple paychecks? One for each character?
The bizarre thing about this, and I'm still, you know, there's a big question mark in my head about it, is that Tom Hanks plays the hero kid, the main kid, because I have the Blu-ray, right?
Okay,
the old school 3D Blu-ray that came with the glasses in the package. And in the bonus features, of course, there's the footage of Tom Hanks with all the little, you know, the motion capture stuff. He's acting out some of the kid scenes.
Yes, correct. Yeah.
And I'm thinking to myself, how do they, because obviously a kid is smaller than an adult. Also in the credits, you've got Josh Hutcherson.
Yeah,
credited
doing additional motion capture.
And then there's yet another kid that does the voice of that kid.
It's really weird. I don't know why they went that route, because Pete Scolari also gets credit.
Which is a great, if you think about it, it's like this is your bosom buddies reunion right here.
Think about the fact that, I mean, it's Robert Zemeckis who's directed this. So he's already worked with Tom Hanks in Forrest Gump. And there's actually a couple references to other Zemeckis movies.
Zemeckis, yes. Yeah.
You know, the golden ticket floating through the air is
the feather.
The feather in Forrest Gump.
Right.
So there's a lot going on here. And I think it's very true to the children's book, which is the source material. If you like, they made it a point to kind of hit all those key illustrations that Chris Van Allsburg, who also wrote Jumanji and Zathura.
Because, I remember I was working in a bookstore back in the 90s, and this was all the rage, the Polar Express. In
the 90s? When the book came out, right?
When the book came out.
Yeah, because this came out a couple years later. But you're right, though. It was revolutionary in the sense that, you know, it's not Toy Story. Toy Story was like the first, quote unquote, CG, fully animated in a computer story, but these were cartoon characters. And if you watch that, you see that the one flaw is that the humans don't look human at all.
It's like the Dire Straits video, watching Toy Story.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. When all the kids show up at Andy's house, they all have Andy's face. They all, they're just duplicated. And that is the one kind of, ding that you can throw at this movie, is that, we talked about a little bit probably off air last week, this idea that this uncanny valley of these characters that look human and act human, and yet there's just something slightly off about them.
Right. But at the time, still, with all that considered, you'd never seen anything that was this hyper realistic before in animation.
Right. Yeah.
Of course, there would be leaps and bounds, improvements that just came like an avalanche even in the next few years after this.
Right.
But this really broke ground.
Sure.
For animation.
Yeah. And like you said, it's all motion captured, which really hadn't been done to this level, where every character is being animated, to the point, like you said, where you have full grown adults basically acting out the children stuff, and they're using oversized props to kind of get the proportion, where now you just use a kid. I bring in Josh Hutcherson, who was probably 8, 9 at the time.
Right.
To do pickup shots, because Tom Hanks has gone on to something else. He's like, I'm done with this. I don't need ping pong balls taped to my face. Michael Jeter, who also is a very well-known character actor, and he was Mr. Noodle's brother, Mr. Noodle, on Sesame Street. And he would always show up in the Elmo segments. I swear that this guy was in Bachelor Party with Tom Hanks, and I did an extensive IMDb dive, and I can't find him in there. So
there is a little guy with a mustache in Bachelor Party,
and that's who I always thought that was Mr. Noodle, and it's not. And I'm like, is this like, am I losing my mind? Because he looks identical to this guy.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. Yeah,
but it's not him. But who we do know is Eddie Deason.
Eddie Deason, unmistakable. You don't know what's gonna happen. You don't need to look at the credits to know that this is the guy on the Ferris wheel from 1941.
Yeah, or in Laser Blast.
Laser
Blast. Yeah. So what's weird is that outside of Billy, none of these characters, none of these kids have names.
Which is crazy, because you don't think about it when you're.
Well, no, you don't. And if you look it up, they're just credited as Hero Boy and Hero Girl. I guess, in the script there are names, but it's like at no point during this adventure did these kids ask each other's names.
Right. Like, for example, Hero Boy, it said his name is supposed to be Chris, named after the author of the book.
Right.
But like you say, he's never addressed by name.
So, but like you said, the fact that Tom Hanks is doing the opening narration as the adult version of this kid. He's also playing the conductor. He's also playing the hobo. He's also playing Santa Claus. Even though he's altering up his voice, it's like, oh, that's Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
There he is. So are they all one and the same character? It's because there's a little tree inside the engine. At one point, there is a flux capacitor.
Yes, and I'd never picked up on this until
you really have
I
to
was
look
reading
for it.
this.
Yes, you really have to look for it.
And I did see it. Because IMDb tells you like the exact scene where you can see it.
Yeah.
It was there for like a second.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. And Hero Boy, at one point when he pulls the horn, he even says, I've wanted to do that my whole life. That's a direct line from Back to the Future 3 from Doc Brown when he pulls the whistle on the train. And I'm like, so is the conductor this kid time traveling back to like get him the Christmas spirit again?
Well, this could also lend the explanation for why it's always 5 of midnight. Like they're using the flux capacitor to mess with time. Yeah.
Oh man, now you're really messing with me. So I don't think they went that deep, but yeah. So yeah, we see this kid, and it's funny because you see this kid, and he's going to bed. It's Christmas Eve, And he's laying in bed, and immediately I'm like, he looks like the scare simulator in Monsters Inc.
He does. Besides the eyes, and again, when you watch this in the early aughts when this came out, until it was pointed out to me, until I read it somewhere that the dead eyes, I didn't really get stuck on that when I was watching this initially.
Santa's probably the most unrealized. And if you think these human kids are creepy, wait until the elves show up.
But the body movements, as you say, looking like one of the scare things from Monsters Inc., especially like the shoulder and arm movement is very
wonky,
robotic, and because the arms are always sticking out from the bodies.
Yeah. And part of it, like when Billy's chasing the train. Yeah, he looks like a weird stick figure. But yeah, so immediately we find out that maybe this kid doesn't believe anymore.
He's going into his encyclopedia to look at the North Pole, and it's a really nice effect when the camera comes through the pages.
There's a couple of really nice effects I'm going to point out at the end of the movie too, where he goes to pick up the jingle bell, and the camera's underneath the ice, and you see him bend down to pick it up on it.
Yes,
there's a couple. Yes. This is the nice thing about creating an environment, and I know that again, this has been done ad nauseum in subsequent movies, because once you create an environment, you can move your camera around anywhere. Yeah. Once you build that world, and that's Favreau did it with the Lion King, the quote unquote live action. You're building an Avatar. Once you build out a world, now you can put your camera anywhere. You don't have to worry about boom mics. You don't have to worry about camera play. You just move it wherever it needs to be within the computer. So yes, there's a couple of really nice shots, and you're right, when he's looking up the North Pole in the encyclopedia. Kids, that was pre-Google, if anybody doesn't know what an encyclopedia is. That's how we had to look up information. And if that thing was a couple years old, you might be reading something wrong.
Exactly. And he's also got like a little folder of, I guess he's like Agent Mulder. Or
was he like building up a file on fake Santa?
More aptly, Agent Scully.
I like to bring to the table all of my my findings on Santa being a fraud.
He's debunking Santa. So there's one photo he has where he's sitting on Santa's lap. And is this Buddy Holly as Santa? Because he's got these huge glasses as well. Yeah. I'm like, that is, that's some poor Santa choice right there. You at least take off your glasses, buddy, before
we've all seen some of these storefront Santas, these shopping mall Santas. And that's actually a nice, when they go in front of the department store. Hey, And I'm like, remember when like department stores were magical? Like I worked in Manhattan, and I brought this up numerous times, but 88, 89, I worked in Manhattan, and I used to pass, I was right down the street from Macy's, but B. Altman's was another one. And they would just go all out with these decorations and these windows. And it was just like, it just transports you. And I don't know if that's really a thing anymore.
Outside of man, I'm sure that there's
I'm sure
maybe in Macy's there's still a display window,
but there's not like you can't go like out in the Midwest and find like a Woolworths,
or like one of these one-off department stores like they show in this movie.
So that's kind of a lost. But and again, it's like this movie's timeless in the sense that it's looking like it's taken place in maybe the 50s, only because of like. He's got slippers that have like cowboy embroidered on them. Like otherwise, the only thing that really gives it away is the inclusion of Steven Tyler from Aerosmith that puts it in any kind of a time
It's the kids,
frame.
But it's the beginning of the movie, the kids' bedroom that puts it in the time frame. But once they're on that train, it doesn't matter anymore.
No, it doesn't. So,
but you also get, before he gets on the Polar Express, you get Tom Hanks as the dad, and then the mom come in to tuck him in, but he's still awake. Any kid worth his salt is going to be still awake, right? On Christmas Eve.
Yeah.
And so the dad stupidly, the end of the magic.
I know. Yeah. Nice for ruining it. Well, I was right there on the cusp, but thanks, Dad. You pushed me over the edge. And of course, Dad's wearing he's got the Santa hat tucked into his belt. Right. So that's the bell that he hears and thinks that. Listen, my sister was 10 years younger than me. And even though I stopped believing a while ago, I worked so hard to keep the magic alive for her. And I do remember coming back from my grandparents' Christmas Eve, and my uncle and my stepfather like putting together some clubhouse or whatever they had bought for my sister. And they're out there, they're drinking beer and giggling and laughing. And I'm like, shut up, you got to be quiet. Like, I'm going to ruin this.
So you see him drift off. The hero kid drifts off after the parents tuck him in. So it leads to question, is this all a dream? Is he dreaming this?
Well, even when you get to the end and he rips, because when he runs outside, when the train shows up, and this is fantastic. If you saw this in the theater or you have surround sound, when this train shows up, I mean, everything in his room is just shaking. And there's this hubcap. Why he has a hubcap in his room, I have no idea. But it's a great device because it's just rattling and it's reflecting everything. And the train, the lights are coming through the window, and it's just so overpowering. And then you get that glorious beauty shot from the ground up as that train just enters into frame.
But it's ominous, the sound of the train, because it's like this echoing moan, like as it comes to a stop, like.
Well, it's a monster.
So you can tell that he is apprehensive about getting on this train.
Well, yeah, train just showed up on his street. I would be a little apprehensive as well. But he grabs his robe, and as he grabs the robe, the pocket gets stuck on the bedpost, and it rips, and all of his marbles fall out. So that's a device that carries through in the movie. But then at the end, when he's back home and he wakes up Christmas morning, it happens again. So you're right. You're like, was this a dream?
Although if you look at it, when it happens at the end, the hole is much bigger than it was in the beginning. It is.
I did not see that. I didn't compare hole sizes. But yeah, so he's outside, and conductor says, well, you getting on or what? He's like, I don't know, where are you going?
So I think this is the iconic Tom Hanks role from this movie is the conductor.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you coming?
He's fun. Well, he's fun.
This is where the questionable nature of this movie comes in, is that this kid is asked to come aboard a stranger's vehicle who he's never met before. And he does so willingly. I'm like, what is this saying to kids out there? Oh, come on, take a ride, kid. This is like the beginning of the Black Phone. This is what is happening in the Black Phone.
Was Ethan Hawke waiting in the?
Doesn't matter where they're going. It matters if you get on.
Yeah, we got hot chocolate. All right. Wait, are there puppies? Well, I have seen some detractors on this who claim that it's not sending a good message because the kids were really just concerned about their gifts. And I'm like, well.
Billy won't let go of his gift.
Well, because he never received a gift from Santa before. We see his house, and this is the thing, is that they go, we're going on the other side of the tracks. Yeah, where the poor people live. Yeah, where the poor people live. And poor Billy's out there in like.
But you have an idea. So Hero Kid, as we will call him, does not initially get on, but as this train starts to move, then he changes his mind and he jumps on.
There are so many safety issues going on here. OSHA would have a field day with this train company.
And the conductor knew that this would happen because he's waiting for him. He hasn't gone back in the train yet. So you're thinking that this probably happens with every single kid that's on this train. Sure,
especially if they're on. He knows why he's stopping. He's stopping because this kid's on the verge of not believing. So this is why every kid is on here. And yet the Eddie Deason character, who they refer to as know-it-all.
Know-it-all kid. Yep.
Know-it-all kid. Like at the end, the elves even say, you're not even supposed to be on here.
Yeah.
And it's like, so how do you get on the train?
That could be taken two different ways. Like he's not even supposed to be on the train or not even supposed to be in the bag of gifts.
So, well, I don't think any of them are supposed to be in a bag of gifts.
No.
By the way, I hope my iPad was not in the bottom of that bag because there's no way it survived. But I took it that he was not meant to be part of this adventure at all.
So, yeah, that throws a huge monkey wrench and question mark in your head. Like, what?
Because it's never addressed.
You're not even supposed to be here.
Yeah, those elves. Boy, I don't know. I don't know what's creepier. These elves are the ones in Krampus.
But the big question also in my head is that the Polar Express, all these kids are from the same town.
Yeah, it's just.
So what about all the other non-believers in the world?
I don't know. There's got to be multiple Polar Expresses all coming in.
I mean, but you don't see anymore.
No, you don't. Just one train with like 12 kids on it.
Yeah, maybe that's where the flux capacitor comes in.
Yeah, I got to go back out now.
That could be a whole explanation for how Santa does it. Maybe he's got one of those in his sleigh as well.
That would have been nice. Yes,
because they all know Herpesheimers, right, or whatever it's called.
Right? Yeah. No, you're right. They're all from the same town.
Yep. They all know the other side of the tracks because it's the other side of the tracks in their hometown. Because at one point, one of the kids says, "Hey, that's my hometown." Yeah. You're all from the same hometown.
Right. Correct. How long you been on this train?
Yeah.
But this is also where we get a hero girl.
Yes. Yep. And she is, I think, recognizes hero boy as like her age because they're, about the same height. So you assume that they're the same age.
You assumed if they're from the same town, they would have gone to the same school.
That's another issue that comes up at the end is like when they say goodbye, it's like forever, Like,
well, Billy says my new.
Why don't you give, here's my address, write me a letter, or, if they don't have a phone yet. I don't know.
This is like the end of Breakfast Club. Are they really going to say hi to each other in the hallway next class? You'd be like, dude, do you remember that? They're all in therapy right now over this.
We get Billy when they go to the other side of the tracks. We get introduced to Billy again, doesn't want to get on, and then he chases, but he's a very awkward animatronic figure when he's running, so he can't catch the train.
He's got those big boots on.
Yeah,
he looks like Dewey from Malcolm in the Middle.
He does.
Yeah, that's exactly who he looks like,
with a much bigger head.
But I don't know. Dewey had a pretty big head. And this is where it boggles my mind. Like, was Pete Scolari doing the motion capture? Because that's not his voice.
That's definitely not his voice.
So, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how Pete Scolari factors into this.
Maybe that explains for some of the weird arm movements, because they have to, if it's Pete Scolari doing the motion capture, they have to shrink this character now, animation wise, to the size of a kid. He can't be an adult running,
which
he's got shorter legs and shorter arms.
It's just a really weird choice.
Yeah.
To go with adult motion capture for these kids. But
Hero Boy pulls the emergency brake to let Billy get on the train.
This kid is a serious problem.
He is.
Every time he turns around, he's the one getting in trouble.
Well, the conductor's always yelling at him. Rightly so.
Yeah.
But as soon as he hears that he pulled the emergency brake so that kid could get on, he's like, that's okay.
Is that true?
Yeah. And then we get the real, probably where the 3D, if you're watching this in 3D, pops the most, because when he hits that emergency brake, you see the cow catcher at the beginning, at the front of the train come right
into your nose. Yep. Well, I will say the first person perspective when they're at the front of the train going 180 miles an hour down the tracks. I'm like, boy, Regal's got nothing on this. Yes. Yeah, I never saw this in 3D. I think this would be spectacular in the big screen.
Yeah, so I didn't really talk about my history with it yet, but I never saw it in the theater initially during its initial run because I didn't have a kid yet. Yeah. So to me, it was like, it's a kid's movie. I don't need to see it. So I saw it on Blu-ray because my father, who is an animation nut as well, so you got to see this movie. So I borrowed his Blu-ray and was amazed by it. So then I, put it away for years until we actually had a child. And then when he got old enough, Christmas time, we were showing him all the kids' Christmas movies. And this one eventually came up and he took to it. We watched it multiple times that first year that we showed it to him. And then it grew on me during those times. So much so that we went to go see it, a re-release of it in IMAX at one point. And it was in 3D. In IMAX, and we sat right in the front of the theater, so it was huge. And that cow catcher scene, boy, was just like it was like the elf with the star, like twisting his nose.
Yeah, which makes me think that they had every intention of like they put in the idea that it would be released in 3D.
Yeah.
Because there are a couple in your face, goofy,
and and the scene with the ticket floating in front of your eyes and like all that type of thing. There's scenes that are made for 3D
when the hot chocolate's getting squirted.
Now, in terms of the hot chocolate scene, I think this has the most awkward animation.
Yes,
like these guys coming out don't look real at all. It's like that they
could have been animatronic.
Yeah.
That would actually explain a lot. Are they just hiding out in the train, just waiting? Like,
because they come out.
Sorry, honey. I got to work Christmas Eve. There's a couple kids who don't believe, and I got to go.
So these guys come out like when the conductor says, do we want to, anybody need refreshments? And then suddenly the door opens and all these guys come out. You see later that the door that they come out of is where all the old toys are. So the logistics of this train, just, it is a magic train. Maybe I'm thinking too much into this, but the logistics don't line up. Where's that kitchen? They didn't walk through the kitchen when they were in the engine a little bit later.
It is a magic train.
Yes.
Because it never jumps the tracks, and a hairpin can crack the ice, but a 55-ton engine does not. But and that hot chocolate song is fun. We got it. Yeah. But then, of course, Hero Boy immediately loses Hero Girl's ticket. Again, this kid's nothing but a problem.
But this also leads to the questionable nature of they don't really take the kids' safety into account on this train.
Like I said, OSHA would have a field day. Because I'm thinking, is this like an adolescent Tom Cruise crawling around on the outside? He's like parkouring on the outside of this train, hanging out with ghost hobos.
And so, okay, Hero Boy, they get up to go give Billy hot chocolate because Hero Girl takes aside a cup for Billy. So the conductor brings her back and she leaves her ticket on the seat, and Hero Boy wants to bring it to her.
Just leave it there. Just leave it there.
Yeah.
It was fine. That's her seat.
But then know-it-all kid riles him up saying, he's going to throw her off the back of the train without a ticket.
Procedure.
That's a standard procedure. Yeah.
Throw her off the train.
They might slow it down, but they're not going to stop.
Why would anyone believe this kid?
So Hero Boy goes after her to give her her ticket, and he sees them inexplicably climbing up out the back on the roof. Why is the conductor bringing her on the roof?
I don't know.
Just to teach her a lesson for losing her ticket?
He didn't want to go through the car with the creepy toys.
What's the purpose? So Billy is then forced to go up on the roof himself to follow them, and it would be, even with the conductor, I'm sure this is, extremely dangerous for her. But for him, forget about it. He's just a kid on his own. And this is where we run into the ghost of the train. We see him one other time when the camera goes under the train.
Yes. Yeah.
Because there's that whole scene where the ticket flies out the window and then it miraculously comes back because it goes, into the snow, and then the wolves,
you get
run over it. The eagle tries to eat it. Then it makes itself into a snowball, avalanching down the mountain. And then it's miraculously, and it's flat, perfectly flat again when it comes back to the train.
Magic ticket, golden ticket.
So Hero Boy is trying to return it. He's following them on the roof of the train, and he runs into the hobo. And this is another very almost disturbing character. I don't know if he's threatening. He is a little bit threatening. No, because you don't know what his intent is. You don't know what his intent is.
Sir, what are you doing on the roof of a kid's train?
Yeah.
I mean, when it comes right down to it, this is a Christmas Carol.
Yeah.
This is, he's the ghost of Christmas past.
Oh, this is a bona fide ticket to ride here.
Yeah, I don't need him. I don't need one. I just sit up here.
I'm like, don't hand this guy your ticket. You'll never see it again. Just the choice of dialogue when this guy says, what is your persuasion? I'm like, that's not a word that I would choose if I was writing the dialogue in a kid's movie. Maybe perspective would be a better word than persuasion, because every time he says that, it just makes me shiver.
Persuasion. Hobo Hanks over there, king of the North Pole.
Then he mimics Santa Claus. And so this is probably, for me, the most wonky animation of the movie, when he's lifting his arms and
well, I think I'm wondering though, because when they pass Hermansheimer's and he sees Santa in the window, and then Santa bends over and you realize it's a mechanism, it's a mechanical guy, and he kind of like does a face like, it's fake. That to me was what he was emulating, was the fake Santa, like he was like some kind of an animatronic. But you're right. It probably was just bad animation. So.
Well, yeah, it does make sense that because he is definitely moving like a robot, but still, like again, that thing with the arms being so far out of the shoulders and everything else.
Yeah. He's more animated than the real Santa when we see him.
Yes, he is. Yeah. Very much so.
Do you remember in Rudolph? And Mama Claus is like, whoever heard of a skinny Santa? Eat, Papa, eat. I'm like, this guy's emaciated. He really needs to eat something because he does not look like a jolly Santa. He looks like a creepy no pair.
And then when he says to the hobo, the first line he says to the hobo, "I'm looking for a girl."
Oreo! Oh boy, creep. Yes, I want to believe. And he even says, he goes, well, seeing is believing. We don't want to be bamboozled.
Taken down the primrose path.
This guy's like, all right, I need to go now. I would have just jumped off the train.
But you could tell that Tom Hanks is having too good a time voicing this guy.
Well, it would have been fun if they made him not look like Tom Hanks.
Yeah.
Because he's like, all right, well, we already created this character that's the conductor, so we'll just warp him slightly. We'll put fingerless gloves on him. There you go. He's now a hobo.
But he's such a jerk. We really are going to the North Pole, aren't we? Aren't we? Like he's mocking him.
Yeah, he's making him question everything.
Do you believe in ghosts? Yeah. Interesting.
Yes, this is actually scarier than Krampus.
Yeah. So now he's got a ski with him on his back down before they reach or some whatever cave it is.
It's an excuse for a fun little action.
No, flat top tunnel. That's what it is. Flat top tunnel.
Was anything but flat?
There's one room of clearance in between the roof of this rattler and flat top tunnel.
So I'm saying this kid turns out to be Tom Cruise's character in Mission Impossible later on, crawling around the roof of a train.
So the kid makes it to the engine and finds Hero Girl there.
Who apparently, if you lose your ticket, get to drive the train.
Yeah. So
not thrown off.
So we also meet the two engine drivers who are voiced by Michael Jeter. I think this is
he did
his two main characters here. Very bizarrely animated, these two. And they look very off-putting and disturbing as well. These two, that's drivers.
Just it. I mean, they're meant to be in another style. They could be very cartoonish, but because they're kind of wrapped in this dead-eye skin, they look just creepy. Although I will tell you, I've got this little bit of chin hair here, and my idiot friend at work loves to pull my chin hair just so I can make that damn caribou noise. And we laugh our asses off.
And this guy never says, "Stop pulling my beard." He just screams every time.
Caribou gotta be 100,000, maybe even 1 million. It's like, wow,
that's a tough nut to crack.
That's a lot of caribou. Yeah. So there's no safety features.
It's too bad we don't see Elton John in the middle of all these caribou, since famously he had an album called Caribou. So yes, they discover that the bearded engineer screams, clears the tracks, and all ahead, slow. So they go through the caribou, and suddenly the train starts to accelerate. And are these not experienced engine drivers? The one guy is throttling the throttle so much so that it breaks off in his hand. I'm like, dude, do you not know how to drive this train?
No, it's probably his first day. He probably didn't have a ticket either. And they're like, well, you get to drive the train.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So this is where you see the flux capacitor when they're that pin, when the throttle breaks and the pin is floating in, floating in the air.
And again, that's another probably really nice 3D effect when you're watching that, because your eyes on that pin. You're not looking at the engine room behind them.
So now this is where Glacier Gulch comes into play, because it's the steepest downhill grade in the world.
179 degrees or something.
So I want to know, if they didn't lose control, how they would have gotten down? It would have been the same thing, right?
Yeah. You just ride your brakes the whole way.
Yeah.
Yeah. But now they got to make their way back to the passenger car. And that's where we get.
But before they do that,
ice.
when they get down to the bottom of Glacier Gulch, they have that frozen lake that they have to go across, and
that's a nice scene, right?
This is great because this is some of the best animation, because the train goes out on this frozen lake and it's lost the tracks and just sliding sideways across the lake, and then you see it come to a rest. And it kind of tips over a little bit and then bams. And you just get such a sense of the weight of this train. It's very nicely done with the, coupled with the sound effects. And then, of course, the pin that is flown out of the engine and causes the entire ice lake to start cracking and coming down. So, and then they're gliding, trying to get to the tracks that are leaving the ice lake. And of course, they make it just in time.
Would have been a very short movie otherwise.
What in the name of Mike when they finally get to the engine. And then there's that lovely scene where the train, after they've made it out of the ice lake, is winding up around this mountain. And you can't see the bridge because it's obscured by the mountain, and the camera, like you were saying, you can put the camera anywhere. Previously, the camera kind of goes over the mountain, and because you're wondering, where is this train going to go? Because it looks like the track stop. Yeah. But then nope, it turns and there's a bridge just hidden out of your eye line, and then the camera goes over the mountain and you see the bridge that it's going over. Very nice. And this is where we get the car that I mentioned before of recycled toys. More proof that this hobo ghost is a complete jerk.
He is a jerk.
Because the conductor is leading the kids through this, and I can only imagine that this has probably scarred millions of children that have seen this movie, because all these broken and abandoned toys all look frightening, right? And there's no lights in this car, so it's just darkness that you're walking through. And the conductor and Hero Girl leave the car first, and Hero Boy is kind of behind them. And suddenly the hobo grabs the marionette of Ebenezer Scrooge that's all broken, and gets in his face, the Hero Boy's face. You're a doubter, and just trying to scare him.
Because he is the Scrooge character in this movie.
Yeah, and he's having the time of his life. You could tell the hobo is enjoying this.
The hobo. This is probably once a year. The hobo is like, "Oh boy, Christmas is coming."
Yep. A fresh bunch of kids.
Yeah. I bet you he would be really good friends with Krampus. Mm-hmm. Probably all hang out.
So Hero Boy makes it back to the main car where all the kids are, and of course, know it all. You missed it. We went down a whole bunch of steep turns.
Yeah, where do you think he was?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I was on the train too. I saw the whole thing.
Which I would have loved to seen what was happening in that car while they were going down Glacier Gulch with all the kids.
They were all pooping their pants.
They're all probably floating in the air, just like the engineers were.
The pin. Yes. But then we got Billy out there. Suddenly he's like a Broadway star
singing a song. Yeah, that
she knew the words to.
A very corny, cloying, but again, this grows on you time after time when you're watching.
When Christmas comes to town.
Yeah,
no, it's
presents for the children.
Bono comes out,
and then this leads into the Northern Lights. Beautiful animation, and then the conductor finds them on the back, saying, "Look at that! Like an ocean liner on a frozen sea. That is the North Pole." And then we get the main song, the Polar Express, and it's exciting. Even when I watch it after 1,000 times, I still get excited during this scene.
Yes, no, it's actually, there's some very uplifting stuff. I didn't notice that some of the musical cues were used directly from the end of the movie Elf. When
really?
Santa's sleigh, I turned to my wife and I'm like, isn't this the exact same music that they use during Elf at the very end when Santa's sleigh goes up over Central Park, and you get that kind of that rousing melody, and I'm like, wow, this is, I don't know who came first. I think Elf came out.
Elf, I think, is New Line Cinema, and I don't know if that's owned by Warner.
But I don't know. I mean, it was Alan Silvestri did the music for this. He could have very well just borrowed from himself. Maybe it was just in a library. I don't know. But
the North Pole itself, the North Pole is beautiful. The architecture, like all those bridges that they're going over.
It's very well designed. Like I said, it's very true to the illustrations of the storybook.
It reminded me of the labyrinth at the end of Time Bandits. Just the way that those the bridges and everything all kind of snake across each other and everything else.
Right.
There is a nice little moment when the conductor says, "We made it with 5 minutes to spare." It's been, as Know-It-All says later, it's been 5 to midnight this entire movie. We've got time to kill. But the conductor sobs a little, like once he says, "We made it with 5 minutes to spare." So that's a nice little moment when he's like, when they're going through the North Pole and he blows his nose into his handkerchief and wipes his eyes.
Mm-hmm. He knows he's getting a paycheck. I got him here on time. But
it's an empty city that the train is coasting into, and the kids are all asking what you're thinking. Where's all the elves? Yeah, they're in the middle of the city. They're all in the middle of the city where Santa's going to give.
They've been working around the clock for 364 days.
So this always makes me laugh. I'm sure with these elves, I'm sure there is multiple bars.
They look like there's some serious drinkers going on there.
They all these elves look like young Jason Voorhees. All of them.
Like I said, just when you thought these kids were creepy, along come the elves, and you're like, oof.
So when you finally see him, there's the one kid on the train. Look, elves.
Yep, there they are.
There they are.
Dink, dink. Ding, 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 ding.
And they all talk like they're from Jersey. All these elves. They're all Joe Pesci. All these elves.
Where do you think they came from? Hoboken.
They're finally in the North Pole. The conductor tells all the kids to line up outside, so they can all meet Santa. Billy, of course, doesn't want to because he is the introvert. He's still not getting off the train. It took all of his power to get on the train, and so that's good enough for him.
There you go. I'm here.
Yep. Yeah. So, of course, the hero boy and hero girl can't leave well enough alone. They've got to mess with Billy one more time.
Just leave this kid alone.
Yeah. So, and this is where we get the famous line, Christmas just doesn't work out for me. And
well, we saw his house. He had no Christmas tree. He had no lights.
Yeah. So
I do like the fact that when Santa had time to actually decorate his house before moving on.
You can only imagine what Billy's home life is like. You never get that spelled out for you. Maybe it's better that you don't.
Yeah, but I think the expectations have just gone through the roof now. Yeah, because all he cared about, like when they're inside the facilities, is the first time we actually find his name.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, look, this one's to Billy. They're like, that's my name. Oh, here's the address. That's my address. And then it was like, that's in my package. I want that package. Yeah, that's all he cared about.
Of course, when they climb up on the caboose in order to speak to Billy, Hero Boy ends up unlatching it. So
again, this kid's a problem.
Yeah.
This kid is a real problem.
So there's, perilous hills in the North Pole because this caboose just slowly rolls away from the main train and then is like suddenly 5 miles away from the main train. And it's like you're back in Indiana Jones in the Temple of Doom on the mine car because that's where this train is going. Yeah. It ends up in an underground roundabout when it finally stops and the kids have to get off and make their way back to the town square where Santa is going to give the first gift of Christmas. And again, the thing about the bell comes in because Hero Girl, because she believes, can hear it. So why is she on the train?
There you go. That was my question, which is you don't really get a sense other than that she's indecisive. She's never implied that she didn't believe.
Unless what she's seen up to that point has made her now believe.
Well, so this is the whole point of Hero Boy, which is you're now confronted with elves and Santa and the sleigh, and you still can't hear the bell? I'm like, all of this information is being thrown at you and you still don't believe.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're worthless. You're hopeless.
In the back of his mind, this is just an elaborate kidnapping and I'm never going to see my parents again.
Yeah, right. But it's frustrating because you're watching this and he doesn't hear the bell. You got to fight for this kid.
Because doesn't Billy not hear it at first? Like when they're all off the caboose, and then during their journey,
he gets his gift. Don't you see? Well, crap! Santa has a gift for me. Mm-hmm. All right, I believe. That's all you got to do. I believe, and I get a gift.
So, because the girl can hear the bell, the bells that she is hearing, I guess, are in the town square. So she's leading them out towards where they need to be.
Right. They use those pneumatic tubes that the elves seem to travel in.
Right.
And I'm like, that's actually pretty cool.
The elves that use it because they get out of the underground roundabout thing and she loses the sound of the bells for a second. again, it's deserted because all the elves are gone. And this is one of the more iconic scenes for me when they hear silver bells and it starts to skip the record. Silver bells, yes. Silver bells, silver. So when we of course had to buy the soundtrack to Polar Express, like soon after we saw the movie. And
Josh Groban, thanks you.
Yeah, you're welcome. That song, Silver Bells, is on the soundtrack, and I expect it to skip on the soundtrack, and it does not. It just plays the whole song through.
They should have at least started with the skipping.
Yeah, they should have. Yeah.
Nothing, huh?
But this is where they eavesdrop on the elves that use the pneumatic tube. Yeah. So we get, again, very jazzy accents. They're looking at Stephen on their monitors because he has tortured his little sister, and they're trying to decide whether to brand him naughty or nice. And
it's Christmas Eve.
Yes. Now, in terms of Easter eggs, we've talked about the flux capacitor, right?
Yep.
This is another Easter egg because Zemeckis based Steven on
Mr. Spielberg?
Mr. Spielberg, yes. So it's little Steven from New Jersey, and this is where I guess Steven Spielberg grew up.
Steven Spielberg is Jewish. Does he
I think
get gifts from Santa?
I guess he does, because this is definitely based on Steven Spielberg.
Okay, I'm just questioning.
So
yes, I believe there were stories that he used to terrorize his sister,
torture his sister.
Yeah.
Yep. It's like a real live action footage of a kid saying, "I didn't do it. I didn't do it. I didn't do it."
But this is right. This is also like they're all like those old CRT tube television screens, like right out of like the 50s, black and white little round cornered.
And so the elves are trying to decide about what to do with this.
Christmas.
Are we talking nothing for Christmas here?
A little too late. What if his gift's already in that bag?
I know.
How are you going to pull it out?
So they decide to be nice, and they put Stephen on the nice list, and then they go into this pneumatic tube to make it to the town square on time. Then the kids also, now this room is abandoned, so the kids can come out of hiding and also go in the pneumatic tube. But the problem is they didn't know which button that the elves pushed to get to the town square. So they just pick a button, and where that brings them is like to some conveyor belt where the presents are being loaded.
Yeah.
So this is where Billy finds his gift. 11344 Edbrook. That's me. That's my address. Again, there's like a Monsters Inc. type scene where he grabs his gift and they go down this giant chute. It reminded me of like the door chamber.
Oh, yes.
But it's like chutes coming from everywhere that send the presents into one central funnel where they're dropping into Santa's giant gift bag, which looks like a huge red scrotum. So yeah, it's a huge mountain of presents. Know-it-all kid is already in there. How did he get to this location?
Correct. Yeah, he has somehow gone ahead of them. He sniffed out the packages.
Yeah, so he's also with them like 5 miles away from wherever they're supposed to be. This giant scrotum is then lifted by like a dirigible that's like this fantastic show with the flying elves, they're called, that these cables shoot out of the ground and like connect to the dirigible, and they lift it up out and bring it over to the square.
It seems a very convoluted system.
It does. And they almost kill several elves because they knock over the star of the Christmas tree.
And once again, the conductor's the only one to voice a reason. I'm just a conductor, but
you need more. What did they say?
Altitude. Yeah, I need to adjust your attitude.
Unless this was all part of the show. Unless
it could be.
The flying elves
they put
planned
on this whole, the kamikaze flying elves come out and save the star before it burst that one elf's head. For the 12 kids who showed up. This is all for you, kids.
And as you were saying, there's got to be multiple bars because they all have these huge W.C. Fields noses with burst capillaries. Yeah.
Well, with all those bars, you're going to need multiple bathrooms, is my guess. How many bathrooms does it take to accommodate all of these elves?
Yeah, I hope the conductor never has to go when he's up there because I'm sure these toilets are tiny.
Well, so that's the other thing, too, which is so these elves obviously run this town, and yet everything is human-sized proportion. They have the wagon where you pump it, that goes on the train tracks, and they pump it. It's human size because it takes 4 of them just to stand on each other's shoulders to get it pumping. I'm like, why would it not be their size? It doesn't make any sense.
Well, the Polar Express has to be human-sized itself in order to take the children there. Yeah. So maybe only a human son. I don't know. I'm trying to justify. So this is where Billy. So now the giant scrotum is brought where it's supposed to be.
Jesus Christ! Now we can't unsee that.
But Billy won't let go of his present, right? As we were saying before, he's all about this present.
Yeah.
I'll take care of this. And Billy doesn't want to give it up. It's in good hands. Trust me.
I wouldn't trust that elf at all. No, that's fine. I'm good. Thank you.
I said before how you get excited when they first enter the North Pole. They also really build up here the appearance of Santa.
Sure.
So you get excited at this too, because I love the visual of the reindeer kicking.
Yeah. And this is where, again, the bells are just going. They got the sleigh bells. And she's like, isn't it beautiful? And Hero Boy is just like, I'm not hearing anything here.
Right.
I'm not hearing anything. It's very frustrating. But he was told before, seeing is believing. You've seen the giant Christmas tree. You've seen all the elves. You've seen the presents. You've seen the sleigh. You've seen the reindeer. Now, what more do you need to believe? But I guess he needs eye-to-eye contact with Santa in order to seal the deal.
Yes.
I can't see it.
Out of all the visuals that this kid has already experienced, the Santa one is the most easily faked. It could be just some guy in a beard, right?
He looks horrible.
Yeah.
It's like they spent all the money on the conductor and the kids. They're like, we ain't got any money left to animate this guy. Because he does look like a storefront Santa.
But yeah, what song is it that goes into slow motion along with the visuals of the reindeer kicking in air? You better watch out.
They start singing. Yeah, they start singing Santa Claus is coming to town.
Yep. And so the one bell is kicked loose from the reindeer's collars, the reins. And it flies in the air slow motion and slowly stops at Billy's feet. And you talked about this before with the shot through the ice.
Yeah.
But even before the shot through the ice, when it stops on the ice, that's really nicely done. That ice is very realistic. And he picks it up, tries to ring it, and it doesn't ring. And then he sees Santa's reflection.
And this is a really nice. It's a nice scene because he turns around and Santa's like right in his face.
Yep. Yeah.
It's like, oh crap. Sorry, sir, I don't believe in you.
And he's telling himself, I believe this is yours.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, he's like, how do I get out of this?
And then, of course, it's Hero Kid that gets chosen for the first gift of Christmas.
I would be disappointed if it wasn't.
I know.
Also, they just pick a random kid that we haven't even seen in the movie.
Yeah. The kid that said, elves.
You got Moxie, kid. Yep. Here's a bell.
Let's have this young fellow right here.
So that's just it. We don't see like these other kids who are obviously on the train because they don't believe. I'm assuming that they're all believers now.
Yeah.
It takes a lot of work to get these 12 kids to just believe in Santa. It sounds exhausting.
I guess he gets to choose the first gift of Christmas, right?
Yeah, well, I think he whispers it. He whispers it to Santa. And then this is where this kid, again, kick him home. You're smart enough to put your ticket in the pocket that is not torn, but you immediately put the bell in the torn pocket and lose it. I'm like, he should have just punched out Dolt on his ticket at the end.
He deserves to have lost that bell.
And so after all of this, he sees all this wonder, and yet now he's just mad he didn't get his gift because he lost it.
Hero Kid whispers to Santa what he wants, and Santa considers, and of course everything is amusing to Santa. So
that's all Santa does.
So he presents the bell to Hero Kid, and he's giving him this monologue. This bell is a wonderful symbol of the spirit of Christmas, as am I. Like, you could use a little bit more humbleness, Santa.
Listen, meanwhile, Krampus is hanging out bells left and right. He's like, you can keep that, kid.
Apparently, and I wasn't listening for this, I was reading some stuff on IMDb. Apparently, if you listen carefully, when Billy puts that in his robe pocket, you can hear it fall. So that explains that he loses it immediately.
So it's not in the sleigh. He's already out of the sleigh at that point.
Well, no, you can hear it fall while he's still sitting there.
Oh, he is in the sleigh. Okay, all right.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's why Santa
my hand would be in that pocket the whole time.
I know. I wouldn't even put it in the pocket. I'd just be grabbing it the whole time.
I would have wrapped it around my neck. I would have put it around Billy's neck.
So again, showing that Santa is in no way humble. when he finally cracks the whip and the reindeer take off, he's got to circle like 5 times before he leaves,
Well, it's very dramatic. and then right. And it's like every year this happens.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, all the magic fairy dust or whatever that was that propels them. And then the elves go nuts and out comes Steven Tyler.
Yeah. Steven Tyler is the only elf that can have hair.
Well, how come you couldn't animate the rest of the band? It's not full Aerosmith. It's just Steven Tyler on a unicycle.
Yeah.
He's at the top of the world, though. Is that on the soundtrack?
It is.
Okay.
Yes, it is.
All right. Fair enough.
So this is where we get all the life lessons that the kids have learned, because the conductor now completes. He's already stamped a couple of letters in each of their tickets. Now he completes the word for each one. Know it all, kid. Lean. What's that supposed to mean? Takes the thumb away and it says learn. Oh, learn. Thank you very much.
Okay.
That's all it takes. Yeah.
So you did learn something.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but we still don't know if he truly believed it or not, or if he just somehow hijacked his way onto this train.
Yeah. So Billy gets multiple messages.
Mixed messages. It's like, which one am I supposed to follow here? The smart girl led. I believe it's also pronounced lead. Like, the English language sucks that you have the exact same word spelled the same, pronounced 2 different ways.
And Hero Kid gets Josh Groban's ticket. If you just believe. I want to know what
have the ticket. Would they still have the ticket? Even more so than the bell, he would still have the ticket.
I know. You got to frame that thing.
That would be the keepsake.
It would. It definitely would. Just like those golden tickets that all the fans are mad about they didn't get at the last Kiss concert. Did you read about that?
No.
At the time of this recording, a few weeks ago, Kiss performed their supposedly last ever concert at Madison Square Garden.
Yeah, let's talk to the Rolling Stones about that last
And
tour.
as the concert goers were leaving, apparently they were handed out random gold collectible tickets for the last Kiss concert.
Oh.
And of course, the fans that didn't get one raised a furor that they didn't get one.
Now you got to go on eBay and pay $200 for it.
Exactly.
Gene Simmons, man, he's just a money making grubber. Good for him.
So I'm just curious about what some of these other kids on the train, what their message on the tickets say.
Yeah, we don't see any. Right. It's almost like the conductor completely ignores them.
Yeah. But that one kid says elves on his ticket. It started out with a VE and then you get the rest of it.
Oh, well, apparently you can count on Billy.
Yep.
Because that's what was on his ticket.
So they all get on the train, and this is when Hero Boy realizes he does not have the bell.
Let's see the bell. I want to see the bell. Let's see the bell. The bell you put in a back pocket.
I really hope it's still there.
Right. You're an idiot if you lost it. We've only been here for 12 minutes. You lost it already?
They're about to all get off the train to help them, but then the train starts to move. Oh, too late.
Yeah, too late now.
Gee, that's really too bad.
I know, right? He's like, I'm
then he has to say, really, just to make sure that the audience knows that he's not just making fun of them.
No, you got to say, it took forever to get there. I hope that we didn't see there was no miss. These kids are exhausted.
They've got to go back up Glacier Gulch now.
Yeah, there might be another way back.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But
we don't know where that hometown was.
These kids have definitely crashed by the time they make it home.
They could have been Canadian. They could have been halfway to the North Pole already.
Because they're all pretty much asleep when they're getting back to their houses. Well, all that
hot cocoa's got to knock you out.
So we see Billy get off the train, right? 11344 Edbrook. 11344 Edbrook.
113.
So
and yep, Santa decorated.
Know It All says, "Hey, where you going? Where do you think he's going?"
Right, correct. Going home.
Oh, okay. Like he's giving him permission to leave the train. But Billy gets off and he sees that Santa has been there, right? And he excitedly runs into his house, and then he gets on his porch and he's showing the gift.
There's the gift. There's the gift.
Train. The camera just pans away just in time before his father comes out with the belt.
What are you doing out here, boy?
Where did you get that?
I got you 2 cartons of cigarettes. Smoke them up, Johnny. Yeah. So Billy, again, just setting Billy up for failure next year.
You never do see where Know-It-All Kid gets off, or
no, because they were already on the train.
They were already on the train, right? It's when Main Kid gets off again. It's like a forever goodbye. Like he's never going to see these kids again.
Right. Yeah. All right. That was fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Santa hasn't been there yet. Nothing under the tree. Cookies are still uneaten. Still a glass of milk waiting there.
But the hobo has to say goodbye to him too, because the hobo's on the top of the train.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah. And the hobo. Mixed messages from this guy.
He's got a stronger story arc than some of the other characters,
because he delights in terrifying this kid, but also saves his life on a couple of occasions. So, mischievous,
crawling around the outside of that train. I'm gonna have to step in and intervene at some point.
And does the conductor, is he just playing dumb when Hero Kid asks him about the hobo? Somebody stopped me from falling. Oh. Was it a ghost? Maybe. Slept ambiguous. Yeah,
it's all over it.
So, is that a little version of the Polar Express at Christmas morning when that
I
toy
believe
train?
That is I think that Santa brought that little train. Did you ever have a train set underneath your tree like that goes around? I don't think I had a train set, but I did have one of those RC race car tracks. Yes, I do remember getting up Christmas. It was like 4:00 in the morning, and my brother stumbled over it walking out to the bathroom, and it was like 4:30 in the morning. We're playing race cars. My mother comes out, she's like, "Come back to bed."
But those things, you could never take a turn on those. No,
they jumped the track.
Yeah,
always. Unlike the Polar Express, that would immediately have jumped the track. I was doing that, but my father-in-law, huge train collector, and he had a nice big set upstairs, Lionel trains and whatever. So I always find those train sets very magical.
Oh, my uncle in the basement because we lived in like a duplex where my grandparents lived downstairs and I lived with my parents upstairs. And this was my grandparents' house from when they were younger. So when my uncle still lived with them, my grandfather and my uncle had built a giant train set in the basement, and it was like mountains, and it went through the mountain and went through the town. It was very impressive. But by the time I was old enough, it was, not working anymore. But so I just saw the aftermath.
The
shell of it. Yeah.
Did you break out your Godzilla toys and attack the town?
No, because that would have been fun. The basement freaked me out, so I didn't go down there.
Gotcha. Was there a hobo ghost down there?
There most likely was. Yeah, I didn't hang around long enough.
All right, fair enough.
So of course Santa leaves the bell under the tree. So the parents don't question who left this gift. It's broken.
Oh,
sorry about that. Yeah.
Yeah. Over time, all of his friends. So he must have taken it to school, showing all of his friends. Look what I got. Look what I got. Yeah. And then over time they all stopped believing, and he still did. So this trip was enough to keep him a believer his entire life.
Yeah.
Boy, I'd be shouting at the mountaintops.
So would I.
He's real. This is like what I do when I screamed that Bigfoot's real. Come on, he's fake. He's fake.
Bigfoot.
No, I saw him.
Instead of a bell, he left you some scat. So under the
there you go. At least that you could. I could get
test it, right?
I could get some DNA samples out of it.
Yeah. But did you notice that not only did he get the bell and the train, but he also got the scary Ebenezer puppet?
Oh, I didn't see that.
That's unwrapped right next to him. I'm like, did the hobo give you that as some kind of twisted joke?
Because that hobo's a jerk.
Because the conductor did say that this was some kind of rebicycling program that Santa does. So maybe that's payoff for that line. But still, why would it be that?
So if Santa didn't give him back that bell, that would have been his gift.
That would have been his gift.
The creepy Ebenezer doll.
It's like, I think it was the hobo that left that, just because he's a jerk.
That jerk, yeah. I want a whole movie devoted to that hobo now.
Yeah.
Just his day off.
So there you have it. So the film ends with a close-up of the bell. And according to IMDb, you're supposed to be able to again see Santa's reflection.
I still have not seen it.
I didn't see it.
No, because it's all very blurry. I think it's just, you got red and white reflections going on there. It's like, look at Santa. No, it's not. It's the hobo ghost.
And then you get Josh Groban. I'm going to mention him again, singing Believe over the closing credits.
It's a solid song for the end of this movie.
Yeah,
like you said, sometimes when they throw the whitewashing in there at the end of the movie to kind of force the tear ducts, Josh Groban makes me tear up.
But yeah, this holds up. Repeated viewings, and this is why it's a perennial favorite for so many people.
Yeah,
is that and it's a very tricky kind of concoction to make a really successful Christmas movie like that, because many have tried and failed. Just because it's a Christmas movie doesn't automatically mean that it's going to be picked up by millions of people every single year. Right. Look at Fred Claus. Like I've still never seen that. I have no desire to. Now, apologies to all the Fred Claus fans out there.
Someone just like perked up going, what did he say about Fred Claus?
But no, I think this is like almost on a Charlie Brown Christmas level of a success. So I really like it.
Regardless of what you're going to say about the technology at the time for the lack of soul behind the eyes. I'll tell you, I do watch it every year. We watch Santa Conquers the Martians. I watch The Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. And this year I added a new one into my rotation, Violent Night. Oh, I had so much fun. I made the whole family sit down and watch that one the other night. I'm like, no, we had a really good time. So unlike the next movie.
All right, before we disembark from the Polar Express, it was a hit. But it wasn't like a mega hit, which you would think that it would have been.
Sure.
Just because its budget was so big.
Well, I was going to say the budget alone was probably massive.
As we've alluded to many times already, it directed by Robert Zemeckis. And it was released in November of 2004.
All right. So it had a nice lead in to Christmas.
November 10th. So it was even, a couple of weeks before Thanksgiving that this was released. The budget was said to be around 170 million. So, So at that time, it was, and it may still be, I don't know, but it was the biggest budget for an animated feature.
Would you consider Avatar an animated feature?
No, I wouldn't, because
there's enough live action stuff.
Yeah. So for 170 million budget during its initial release, it made 286 million. So it didn't even make double its budget during its initial release. But because, it's re-released year after year, and sometimes in IMAX, I think to this day it's made 314 million. But it's, like so many movies that we cover, this becomes more of a success on the back end than it was during its box
think about
office.
The fact, like you said, so I'm sure they probably have a licensed version of the train as a toy set that you can buy. You can take your kids on a Polar Express train, just like they have Thomas the Tank Engine that you can go on those little rides.
I've done both of those.
Okay.
I've done the Thomas and I've done the Polar Express.
Do they do the hot chocolate dance?
Well, it's, these are all local train stations that pull this off, right? So we went to there's a train station in Kingston, New York.
Yep.
That we did the Polar Express. It's probably the whole experience was maybe an hour. You're on the train. It goes to a location and then it goes back. So they didn't do the dance, but you get on. They encourage you to wear your pajamas to which we did. We get on. They dress up as the chefs. They don't come out and dance and sing, but they give you hot chocolate. There's the conductor that gives you a ticket. And there is a hobo that walks back and forth on the train. And
so they do the hobo, but
they
don't do the hot chocolate dance.
They don't do the hot chocolate dance.
That's a missed opportunity.
But the rest of the characters, like the conductor, pretends they can't see or hear the hobo, which was apropos.
So is the hobo like putting his hand in front of their face going, hey, can you see me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. He's like, making fun and he's playing with the conductor and the conductor pretends that he's not there.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's weird.
When the train that we were on got to its destination, it stopped at like a mock-up of the North Pole, which was just a few buildings decorated for Christmas, right?
Okay, yeah.
So, and while we were stopped there, the guy dressed as Santa walks through the train and gives you, each person that is on gets a bell.
Oh, you got a bell.
Yep. Still
That's
got a
cool.
bell. Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
It was like a legit big bell. And,
right.
and I think it's, had Polar Express.
It didn't say Krampus on it? No.
Didn't say Krampus. And
I think kind of cool.
On the way back,
as a little kid, it's got to be enough to keep you enchanted.
Yeah. On the way back, they bring you a cookie or something. I think it was like 2 refreshments during the course of the journey. So
you do know you're paying for that bell somewhere in that.
Oh yeah, somewhere in that price you're paying for that. Yep.
Very cool. The only thing I noticed was that there was more than a few Industrial Light and Magic alum that were attached to this for the FX houses, Ken Ralston and Doug Chang, so who worked on Star Wars stuff or whatever. But and probably Back to the Future. They probably worked with Zemeckis on Forrest Gump and a bunch of other stuff. But this is perennial favorite in my house. Can't go a season without it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So when Hanks himself optioned the book in 1999, one of the conditions that was given to him was that it not be an animated movie.
What?
Van Allsburg wanted it to be live action, and once Zemeckis came on board, no pun intended.
Did he have a ticket?
He convinced Van Allsburg that animated was the only way.
Well, I think they said budget-wise, it would have been astronomical.
Yeah.
To actually film this as live.
And he said it would have looked terrible. There's no way he could have pulled it off. Maybe that's true to some extent. You could probably.
Well, I would think there's certain directors you'd be like, that's crazy. That's bull. But when you got Zemeckis telling you that, you're like, all right, dude, you got the credentials.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, all right, listen, the best possible outcome we could have had at the time. So.
And Herpesheimer's a real store in Grand Rapids, Michigan.
Yeah, which is where Zemeckis grew up. Right?
Yeah.
I think there's a couple references to his hometown thrown in there.
Yeah,
maybe even the address, but very, very entertaining, very enjoyable.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if we normally give buckets to these movies, but this would be very close to a 5.
Yeah,
for me, if not a 5. Again, just because of the personal connection.
I agree. It's up there. Yeah, it's hard to, especially a movie like this, to actually put a grade on it, I think.
But we love it. Yes. As you can tell by this discussion.
So, you're right. I would have been very content as a 5 bucket. Yeah.
This probably, I don't know if it's my favorite Christmas movie, but it could be. I've not really considered that.
Dead eyes and all. Yes.
It could be.
Doll's eyes.
Doll's eyes.
that quote from Quint in the back of my head pretty much throughout this entire movie.
Okay, so shall we leave the Polar Express? To the concession.
Yes, even though I'm full on hot chocolate, I think we need to go to the concession stand because you said you have a Christmas treat.
Yes, and this is in the same realm as your orange peanut or...
oh, no. Okay, here we go. All right.
And some might put it in the same realm as the candy corn, but, our third member would argue that. This is the redheaded stepchild of Christmas treats, and I'm going to go with ribbon candy.
Ooh.
Ew, yes, is the first reaction that most people have.
Every grandma has
a
box stuffed away somewhere.
I don't know what would be considered worse, this or a fruitcake to get for Christmas.
I actually used to buy my great-grandmother a fruitcake because I just thought that was what you ate. Fruitcake.
But yeah, this is for some reason the grandparents are all about like disgusting candy that you would never think to eat.
But think about it. You take like a Reese's peanut butter cup now, you take 2 bites and it's gone.
Yeah.
You have a ribbon candy, that thing's gonna last you.
It's gonna last you in your mouth. It's gonna last you because it's stuck in your teeth. You can't.
Yes, but then it's the all day sucker.
It's the all-day sucker.
Listen, this is like beef jerky for the confectionery.
That's just saying that it lasts a long time, but it's not saying that it's good. It's just saying
but
it's economical. It's economical.
Right, correct. You're talking about a generation that probably re-ironed their aluminum foil.
Yeah. But ribbon candy, I guess you can get it at any time of year, but it is really I associate it with the holidays.
Sure.
And
I don't seek it out ever. But...
Right, yeah, I don't know. Neither do I, but it's still out there. Again, thinking about ribbon candy for this episode,
right?
See tons of it available online or in stores or what have you. There's even if you don't necessarily need to get it in ribbon form, but it comes in little bits of candy.
So again, it's still called ribbon candy, even though it's not ribbons. It's just broken up pieces.
It's like broken up pieces. Yeah, it's not called ribbon candy. It's just called hard candy or what have you. But you can tell it's the same
leftover crap.
Traditionally, it's colored, of course, red and white, those Christmas Santa colors.
Sure.
And a lot of it is usually mint flavored to go along with those colors. You can get it as shiny or matte, just like your photos. Yeah.
What's the difference? Why would you want a shiny or matte?
Well, I think shiny just lends itself to that stickiness that you need for ribbon candy.
Is it an extra? It's like an extra layer of shellac?
I don't know.
What is going on there?
Maybe they buff it out to make it shiny.
I like my candy matte.
Yep.
Okay.
Mint, the most popular flavor. Citrus, just behind that. Other options include vanilla, cinnamon, chocolate, and even bubble gum.
Oh, I was waiting for you to say banana.
I'm sure that they have banana out there.
Well, that's an abomination right there.
It's said to have been in existence for centuries, and its true origins may lay in China, but the way that we see it today, or that we're familiar with it today, grew out of Europe in the 1800s, as candy makers then would create a strip of pliable sugar, make it hot, and then with their thumbs, they probably burned their thumbs each time.
Okay.
But those old school candy makers would make the ribbon shapes with their thumbs into this pliable hot candy. So that's how they would originally make it.
Nobody created a tool for this?
They eventually did, yes. But originally it was, all thumbs.
This is also how I make my bacon, by the way.
So you would also, so this begs the question, would you get it with fingerprints whenever you actually bought?
Oh my.
But the process was refined over time. Dr. Philip Lasky, who was a dentist, by the way.
Oh, well, that's repeat performance right there.
He invented the first mechanical candy crimper. Say that 10 times fast. Mechanical candy crimper. Mechanical candy crimper. In Massachusetts in the late 1800s. So this was a hand crank device that would, had those shapes already done. So you would feed a soft, straight ribbon of candy into this thing, press the button, or not press the button, but crank it. It would come down and make the shape. But again, this was hand manipulated.
But at least I'm not sticking my fingers all over.
At least you're not sticking your fingers. And then eventually it became very automated, like in a factory, the same kind of concept.
I'm sure every food source in the planet started with just somebody manhandling it.
Yeah.
So because it's we got to figure out a better way for this.
Of course. Before it became automated, because the guy was from Massachusetts, it was pretty much a regional thing in New England. The popularity of ribbon candy first exploded in New England, and then as it got automated, it spread throughout the country.
That'll stick to your wooden teeth, by the way.
It'll stick to anybody's
Everything.
teeth. That's because, of course, there's the joke that everybody knows that invariably, if you go over your grandparents, you will see a bowl of ribbon candy. And the stuff that I was reading, it's saying that people will actually buy this for decoration rather than for something edible.
Don't eat it. Don't eat it.
Because when you put this thing, because the room temperature or whatever, if you put it together with other ribbon candy, it will become a lumpen mass.
Yes. Yeah.
So if for some reason you wanted to eat ribbon candy and you saw a bowl of it and you tried to dip in and break off a piece, you're going to pull the entire thing.
The entire thing. Well, you touched it. Now you got to eat the whole thing.
And if you manage to break a piece off, you've got to suck on this thing. You've got to suck on it, because if you try to chew this, you will never get it out of your teeth.
No, you're committed.
Ever.
Yeah. So why not just put it on a stick?
Well, I think that they eventually did, and that's a lollipop.
Is that how lollipop was invented?
Yep. But I don't think a lollipop is anywhere near as sticky. I don't think a lollipop is anywhere near as sticky as...
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even take putting it in your mouth to make it sticky. Just the room temperature will make it sticky.
It's enough to make it gooey. Yeah. Interesting. Ribbon candy.
So again, ribbon candy readily available today.
So there's no proprietary. Nobody owns the rights to ribbon candy.
I don't
any
so.
company can make it.
Any company can make it.
All
yeah.
Right. The question is why. That's what it comes down to. Why are you making this?
Again, you don't have to use Christmas as an excuse to get it. If you even want an excuse to get it, but because of its history, Christmas is its most popular sales time. So
but you would think eventually like that would just die out because there's enough people of our generation who are like, this is disgusting, I'm not having it in my house.
I don't know. Well, maybe after you reach a certain age, suddenly your brain just
maybe it's like
switches over. I need this. Yeah,
I got grandchildren now. I need ribbon candy.
It's like if a pregnant woman suddenly has an urge for pickled flavor ice cream or something. Yeah, maybe that's after a certain age. Once you get your AARP card.
Hey! Hold on! Whoa! You're talking to somebody who's had one for a couple years now.
Well, maybe now that I've mentioned the words ribbon candy, it will strike something into your brain like a flint.
I am going to the grocery store after this, so
yeah,
I will keep you up to date if I buy ribbon candy. Actually, there's a whole candy section at Uncle Giuseppe's where we're going. They make their own candy. It's like a chocolate fountain, which always freaks me out, but.
And while I do think, as you said before, that pretty much it's like a public domain kind of a thing, there is a patented air-activated automatic cutter in use today by F.B. Washburn Candy. So at least they have this special machine. I think maybe others use their own way. Maybe they still use the thumb method.
Old-fashioned way.
But yeah, I will sample whatever candy I'm talking about. I had no desire to sample this.
I also believe you did not. Well, no, that was my circus peanuts. You wouldn't have known ahead of time.
No, I wouldn't have. I don't think I would have sampled that either.
Not correct.
That would have entailed me to get a whole bag of them because you can't just buy one.
No, yeah.
And then I would have felt bad for, wasting the rest of it. But I was in a Walmart in the last week, saw it on the shelf, thought to myself, maybe. Nah.
We're good.
Yeah.
I can talk this one through.
Yeah. So there you go. Ribbon
candy. All right,
candy.
ribbon candy.
Yep.
Okay. That is a very holiday treat right there.
Yeah.
For somebody.
All right. Talking about holiday treats, we got one more.
Yeah, this is outside my wheelhouse, but I threw caution to the wind and I'm like, you know what? I said, we're each going to bring a Christmas movie. I have never seen this, and I'm kind of enjoying dipping my toe into the genre of these scary movies. So I had no clue what to expect from this. I've never seen it. I don't think I've seen anything outside of the movie poster. But I know the legend of Krampus, and so I said, that's it. He looks cool.
He does look cool. You know what he looked like to me? Remember, I don't know how familiar you are with Labyrinth, the Jim Henson movie. He reminded me of that one life-size Muppet of the old lady with all the packages on her back.
On the back, yeah. Well, it's a very Norse-looking. I think he's Austrian. The lore of Krampus is from Austria, Germany, around that region. But he also looks like a Skeksis from.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
What am I talking? What's the movie?
Dark Crystal.
Dark Crystal. There you go.
Yep.
Yes.
So of course, Omi, who is the grandmother here, who speaks German and only intermittently speaks English, but yet
like later on,
English.
she does. She spits out some English, and Uncle Dave or whatever his name was there, Uncle Howard. He was like, she speaks English.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Who my wife and I immediately thought was Sissy Spacek. Like I was convinced this lady was Sissy Spacek.
No.
It was not. It is not. We do get a Toni Collette, which is about the biggest name you're going to get in here. I only paid $1.98 to rent it on Prime, so
right.
I felt like I might have got my money's worth.
This is a bizarre movie because it's not straight horror. They go up they bring you up to a point, but they don't go into like a real horror territory. It's PG-13, first of all. So I think what they're trying to do, this is it could be construed as gateway horror. It's not severe enough that like kids of a certain age wouldn't enjoy it.
Well, I will tell you right out of the gate, I was disappointed that it wasn't scarier. I wanted this because you're getting the story. I mean, again, you know a little bit about this Krampus in that he comes after naughty children, and that he punishes them. Yeah. Right? Like in Germany, they actually have what they call Krampus runs, where these kids are being chased by these things. These are like the zombie runs. They're like zombie runs that they do now, which I would lose my mind if I was a kid and this thing was chasing me, because you're right. He's just this massive, deformed looking Santa Claus with horns, and he's a really cool creature. But it starts out like just a typical holiday movie.
Yes, but before we leave this, can we all talk a little bit more about these Krampus runs?
Okay.
Is this like the running of the bulls? Did you see any footage of
No,
this?
I haven't seen any footage, but I'm assuming that, I don't know if you get caught, you get tagged out. I doubt he eats you.
Like, do parents throughout the year threaten the kids? You know, if you don't behave, I'm going to throw you into the Krampus run.
Sure, why not?
December.
Well, it's grown-up men dressed as Krampuses and parade around the city streets and scare children. All right, so it doesn't sound like it's necessarily like the zombie run. It sounds more like they just kind of like show up in cosplay and chase kids. You better be good, or I'm going to come and get you. So that's a little bit more of that's even more of a letdown than this movie, because you immediately, well, first of all, this is 2 movies in a row where all the production logos are covered in snow. So I'm like, all right, well, we've got this nice little Frozen Universal logo going on. They set the tone. We're introduced to Max and his sister Beth, and then this family, Tony Collette and the dad, who's played by Adam Scott. And I think he's like 20 years younger than Tony Collette. Like,
yeah, Adam Scott it kind of irritates me because he seems to like he does a lot of hair acting. Like, it's like his hair is always impossibly
his beard
high.
Is like so perfectly coiffed that it's just. But it's like a National Lampoon's Vacation, because they got the family coming in. No one wants to deal. The kid literally says to his parents at one point, "Why do we have to put up with this crap just because we share DNA?" And I'm like, that is what every family is saying this time of year, when your cousins come in from out of state or family that you only see once a year. And we get Aunt Dorothy, who is Conchata Farrell, who, if anybody has ever watched 2.5 Men, she was the maid on that show. So she's actually a famous actress. Uncle Howard is David Koechner, who was in Anchorman.
Yes. So this is the beginning of this movie plays out like Christmas Vacation. Almost.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah. And it's played like it's just, the kid's got to deal with his cousins. They're stupid. They're idiots. Mom's getting mad at dad because dad's claiming that he's on vacation, but he's taking phone calls. You're not supposed to be working. It's clear that mom doesn't want to have to deal with all these people in her house. But there's a beautiful opening. During the opening credits, you get like the horrible Walmart video of people fighting over the toys at the midnight sales. And at one point, I thought I saw Scott Varkas was in there getting beat up. So it just sets this weird tone of this dysfunctional family. And the kids, he's writing a letter to Santa.
It's the only kid that still believes in his family.
He's a kid that you feel for, because you see that this family's dysfunctional. And there's a horrible scene where, the family descends, the out-of-town family descends on them. They're all at the table. There's twin cousins, and they steal his letter to Santa and read it out loud at the dinner table, just gutting this kid, because all he really wants is for Christmas to be like it used to be. He doesn't want his parents to fight. He doesn't want any of that. He just wants, which I think as we all get older, this is what you want. You just want everyone to get along.
And nobody even attempts to stop these girls from reading this letter.
No, within 10 minutes, I want all these people to die a horrible death.
Yeah, you don't like any of them. You don't like any single one of them.
No. And it's weird because, he gets mad, he gets embarrassed. And so he takes his letter and he wads it up and he rips it apart and he throws it out the window. And this is all it takes for him to say, I no longer believe in Santa, for Krampus to be like, well, I got myself another victim. Omi, who is the grandmother, and like you said, she only speaks in German. Like, you don't really get a sense of what this thing is. All of a sudden, this massive storm kicks in. The town is completely cut off. No one has power. And then it just becomes like you said, it's like a softcore horror. They're not, there's a lot of jump scares. The uncle, they venture out because the sister was at the boyfriend's house and she doesn't come home. And we see that she ends up being taken by this demonic looking jack-in-the-box.
So as you said, as soon as the letter gets ripped up, this blizzard comes and covers the town, not just the house. So not only is this kid's family getting punished, the entire town is getting punished.
Right.
For this kid not believing. So yeah, the oldest sister tries to venture out into the blizzard to walk to her boyfriend's house. She sees the Krampus jumping from roof to roof, and you only see it like blurred through the snow. Which again
is a cool visual. And I'm like, all right, I'm in. This creature is scary.
But you never see it again until the end.
Not only that, like it doesn't go anywhere.
You're right.
Because you get to the end of this movie, and again, there's a lot we can talk about in between, but no one learns anything.
No,
it's like they're taken one by one, but like you don't see them, like they're not repenting, like there's nothing, like it's just bizarre.
And you find out that grandma, what they call her Omi, is a survivor of Krampus because apparently it took her entire family. So as a little girl.
And there's this really nice flashback sequence that's shown in animation.
Yeah.
And I'm like, why was this whole movie like this?
Right.
But you want to see grandma go badass like grandpa at the end of The Lost Boys? Like, fight this thing.
And it doesn't happen.
No, it doesn't happen. So these despicable family members are taken one by one. It doesn't affect Max in any way, shape, or form. If anything, he hated these people, so good riddance. But you don't see them. There's a really nice sequence where they're attacked in the attic, but it's so dark and so claustrophobic, like you don't really get a sense of what's going on. Because there's fun stuff here. You got these demonic elves that break into the house. You've got these gingerbread men that are clearly animated. At one point, the uncle actually picks it up and bites part of its head off, and then it attacks him. So there's all this crazy stuff going on. So it's like this Krampus has like all these minions that are descending on this family.
Yeah, so the Krampus is sending out the minions rather than dealing with the family himself. And he doesn't appear and reveal himself really until the very end.
Yeah, Uncle Howard gets pulled underneath the snow, a la Jaws kind of a thing. But you don't see whatever happens to them.
Yeah, and you've got like either the Bugs Bunny burrowing under or he who walks behind the rose. I don't know what it is.
Yeah,
but something burrowing under the snow that's taking them.
Yeah, the one cousin looks like Augustus Gloop, and I'm like, oh, you need to take this kid out.
And he gets taken out really nicely because like the weird clown thing that has the predator mouth, which looks like it's out of Five Nights at Freddy's, by the way.
Yes,
swallows him, so all you see is his boots going down his gullet. So that was at least satisfying. But you never, besides that, where you see the kid getting swallowed, all the rest of the family just disappears, right? They're not like stabbed or...
Yeah, because we never see what happens to the sister, Beth.
No.
Except, she's crawling underneath the truck. They find the frozen DHL guy.
Yeah.
It was very disappointing.
And like you said, not only because they are playing up Krampus as the anti-Santa Claus because he's got demonic toys, right? And instead of... Well, he's got elves, but they're dark elves.
But cool in theory. I want to see more of it.
I'm thinking I wasn't thinking that the grandmother was going to fight Krampus. I was thinking we're going to see Santa like at the end of the movie.
Oh, that would have been even better, or at least Max, because really at the end of the movie, Max is like, all right, I believe, but he claims he believes just to stop this thing from attacking.
Yeah,
taking him out.
Because in this reality that Santa exists if Max not believing in Santa is bringing
enough
the
to
Krampus.
bring this thing on, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like Santa, anti-Santa. So there's a lot of potential here. And it's funny because I looked on IMDb and there's a fair amount of Krampus movies. So maybe there's other ones that are scarier. From what I'm reading, this is one of the better ones. Like, you don't get a sense of the lore. You don't, we just brought up Violent Night, and you get the backstory of Santa as like this Nordic warrior.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you get nothing with this. You don't really get a backstory of what this Krampus thing is. And when he is confronted, when Max confronts him, it's scary looking, but it's not enough. Again, we got the nice little crossover with the bells in both these movies as well. And Max ends up, it just, I've seen reviews where they're comparing this to Gremlins, where it's more like a horror comedy, but I don't see the horror or the comedy. I was so disappointed because I was really I was so proud of myself to say, I am breaking trends right now, and I'm going to go knee deep in this horror genre. And this just it wasn't scary, and it didn't do anything for me. Yeah, it's like Max didn't learn anything. He just gave in out of fear. Like, yeah. All right, I believe now. I believe.
Well, he does say at the end, he's willing to sacrifice himself for his family, because he says, take me instead.
Okay.
And so Krampus is like, okay, I will. And he drops him into the netherworld. You see him falling slow motion, Hans Gruber style, into this fiery hole. Yeah. Then he wakes up in bed. So here's the biggest question mark is that, okay, everything's back to normal. The family's all there. There's no more blizzard.
Yeah, everyone's back. Everyone who we saw being taken away is back. It's now Christmas morning.
And nobody seems to remember what happens. Yet they seem to be nicer than they were at the beginning of the movie. Max is then gifted, as you said, the Krampus bell, maybe a specific nod to Polar Express. How could it not be?
Right. It's like, everything that you just experienced did happen.
They all remember at that point when they see the bell. And then the camera pans back from the house, and it's revealed that they are trapped in a snow globe. And
did they just pull a Saint Elsewhere on us with this? But but did he get his wish? An endless Christmas morning that he gets now? Or are they just all going to sit around and talk about what happened the night before? Well, what happened to you? You got pulled underneath the snow. Where'd you go? It doesn't make any sense. And I'll tell you right now, the movie poster ruins that little.
Because you see the house, ending. It's the Krampus's hand on the snow globe.
On the snow globe.
And when the camera pans back from, I don't know if it's Krampus's workshop or whatever.
Correct. You see there's multiple snow globes.
So is Omi's family in there? And why isn't Omi in there with them?
Right. And why didn't she fight back? She's like, I'm not going out there.
So, and then you get the final jump scare of all the elves jumping into frame, like at the end.
It did nothing for me. I wanted to punch him in the face by the time this was done.
Like we were saying, it's promising something that it never delivers on.
No, there's a lot there that they could have just. I guess they were worried about it being PG, not R.
For a 97-minute movie, this moves pretty slowly because it takes a while. They're trying to build up suspense, up until the point where they have to go in the attic and deal with all the toys. Right. I think that's more than an hour into the movie.
Yeah, because you do get that first 20 minutes is, like you said, it's kind of like Christmas Vacation. Yeah. It's just a dysfunctional family and this kid trying to navigate. All he wants is a happy Christmas, and everyone around him is miserable.
I watched this. Well, I should say I attempted to watch this once before.
Okay.
A year or so after it first came out, once it hit video or streaming or whatever. And I fell asleep about 20 minutes into it. And I never picked it up again. That wasn't that great, so I'm not going to go back to it. So when you suggested, I'm like, okay, I can finally watch the whole thing. Again, I fell asleep 20 minutes into it. I'm like, okay, now I have to go back to it because I have to watch it. And then when I finally saw the rest of it, I'm like, I didn't miss anything.
No, I was so excited. I was so proud of myself. And this was just a dud.
Yeah.
This really was. There's a lot of missed potential.
Next year, if you truly want to go into Christmas horror territory, I suggest Black Christmas.
Well, I'll tell you
it's not just a straight up, it's nicely done. It's like on Halloween level type horror.
Didn't that just come out like last year?
A reboot of it came out 2 years ago. So the original is like the 70s.
Oh.
Yeah, okay. It's got Margot Kidder, pre-Superman in it.
Oh, get out of here.
Yeah.
She's scary enough as it is. So, all right. Well, listen, I still have a full week before Christmas, so maybe I'll dive into that.
Yeah. So, yeah, Krampus, I'm going to go maybe two buckets for Krampus.
Yeah, I'll go 2 3/4. There was potential. Tonally, it's weird. Tonally, it, like you said, it starts out like this typical Christmas family get together gone awry, and then it could have turned a lot darker, and it doesn't. It just doesn't, and it doesn't pay off.
Right.
I don't care how cool he looks if he's not doing anything. Yeah, very disappointing.
Yeah.
Yeah, well.
But at least we had the Polar Express to even it out. Right?
We did. We got hot chocolate out of it.
Yes, we did.
Yeah.
So, okay, we've talked Christmas. Now, what else did we do this week?
All right. I'm going to go first, and I will tell you this was a pleasant surprise. I immediately shouted out to the rest of the team. And you either take it and you go with it, or you say no. But I stumbled across this on Prime, and it's 2021, so it's a recent movie. Although it's a foreign movie, it's Italian, so it's subtitled. Freaks versus the Reich, or if you look it up on IMDb, it is Freaks Out. So they rebranded it, but I've not had the best track record when recommending a movie that involves Nazis. But I'm going to say that this is a pleasant surprise, and I've seen reviews refer to it as Fellini meets Marvel, and I'm going to say it's a little. There's a real Wizard of Oz feel to this going on, but basically, the story centers around this circus troupe during the early days of World War II, and they actually have superpowers. Now, they're not superheroes. They are freaks. You've got a girl with electric abilities, and much like Rogue, she can't really have human contact without zapping you and knocking you unconscious. There's a Patton Oswalt type of a character who has magnetic abilities. You have a Jojo the dog-faced boy who is just this tall, shaggy guy who has incredible strength. And there's a boy who can communicate with insects, so a la Ant-Man kind of a thing. And there's a Professor Xavier type of leader who's just trying to get them out of Germany and to the Americas to be safe during the war. But you also have the bad guy is a 6-fingered German piano virtuoso, who happens to also have time travel abilities, and he has foresaw the downfall of Hitler and has decided that he's going to try to secure a fighting force. He has seen visions of this troop that he wants to harness their superpowers to use to help the Nazis win the war. And that's pretty much the setup. I enjoyed it immensely. I was absolutely taken aback by it.
What's the production value on this? Because
very, very high.
It is.
It is.
Okay.
It is not. They did not shirk on the special effects. It looks great. It looks fantastic.
Because you see a grab you title like this, and you expect it to be like on a sci-fi movie type level.
Yes, correct. You're right. Sci-fi
like
channel,
meaning Sci-Fi Channel.
Yeah. No, this. I mean, I didn't dive too deep into the lore of it or the production, but it looks pretty solid. It was very entertaining.
Yeah, I've been seeing this pop up on my recommended, so maybe I'll actually take the plunge.
Okay. I would like to hear your take on it.
Okay. All right.
I have recommended.
It's long. It's over 2 hours.
It is over 2 hours, but it doesn't feel it. Like there's a lot of times, especially now, a week before Christmas, by the time I get home, I'm not willing to invest in a 2-hour movie.
Mm-hmm.
And I was engrossed the whole way through. I was really taken aback. Matter of fact, when my son is home, I may rewatch this with him.
Oh,
so I enjoyed it. I thought it was great. It was something special, and very surprising.
Nice.
So that's my recommendation for this week.
So I didn't really get to watch anything extra.
Well, you were traveling.
I was traveling. Yes,
you didn't get to watch a movie on the airplane?
No, I usually just bring out my old iPod and listen to my music on it.
Okay, fair enough.
But I visited family in Marianna, Florida, which is on the panhandle of Florida, very close to the Alabama border.
Woo!
And since we live in New York, we do not have any of these stores locally, but there are stores called Second and Charles down there, as if it's like a street. So what it is it's like a wonderland of music, it's physical albums, CDs, music, toys, books. So like a media play type store. And they sell lots of used things and so much collectible material. So for different IPs, like they have a little Godzilla section, they have a little Harry Potter section, they have a little Marvel section. And of course, I go straight to the Godzilla section. And what do I find? But a lovely Mothra, very colorful plush. And on the tag, it says reverses to become a neck pillow. So I look at the picture on the tag, and if you unzip the zipper on the back of the butterfly plush and you stuff that in, and the caterpillar version of Mothra comes out, and you can use it as a neck pillow, like have caterpillar Mothra around your neck on your plane flight.
Pupa around your neck.
So of course I had to get that, and we used it for the plane flight back.
That is pretty wild.
Yep. And so there's also tons of Funko Pops in Second and Charles.
Oh boy.
I restricted myself. I only got 2.
I was going to say, did you have to ship them home ahead of time?
No, but knowing that they do sell, and I usually get at least 1 at this store, I brought some protectors with me.
Look at you.
So I would be ready to get them home. I found 2 that were relatively rare. One was Flash Gordon, the Sam Jones Flash Gordon. So I found that guy. And the second one was, we talked Kiss a little bit earlier. They had a couple of Kiss Pops, glow-in-the-dark Kiss Pops.
Glow-in-the-dark.
So I got Ace Frehley.
He is a spaceman. So.
Yeah. I tend to like those 2, Ace and Peter Criss, more so
Peter
than
Criss
the
was
2
always
mainstream.
my favorite. Yeah, Peter Criss was always my favorite.
So they didn't have Peter, or I would have got him.
No, yeah.
They only had Ace, so I got Ace. But they just call him on the Funko Pop the Spaceman. So
is that because they can't legally
they
sell
interchange?
Well,
I think that the whole Kiss mindset since those guys left is that the character is interchangeable. It doesn't need.
Oh, gotcha. Well, I think that also started with the comic book that came out a couple years ago. I'm trying to remember if it was Top Cow. But yeah, it was the demon, the spaceman,
the Star Child,
and what is
the
Peter
cat,
Criss?
right?
The cat? Is he
the
just
cat.
a cat?
The cat.
I can't see Peter Criss now without thinking of that Simpsons episode where they're all the kids are on the island and they get into like a tribal war and they all have paint on and Ralph pokes up with a
yes.
Just meow. That tickles me to no end.
So yeah, that's what I did. So I visited Second and Charles.
I will tell you, I have a new comic book store that just opened up down the street from me.
Really?
The Rift. I think they moved from Peekskill.
Okay.
So I think that's a bigger facility. I have yet to be there, but I will be checking it out.
Nice.
And I'm sure I'll keep an eye out for the glow-in-the-dark Peter Criss.
Yes, please.
Yes.
Okay, so our first show of 2024 hasn't been decided quite yet. We're hoping it will make itself apparent as the date comes closer, but there are a few possibilities we could venture with. There's that new Zack Snyder movie that's appeared on Netflix.
Rebel Moon.
Rebel Moon.
Yes.
That this could be a craptacular.
Oh, it could be, and it's only part 1.
Oh,
There's 2 parts. Although we covered part 1 of Dune, and then there's a good chance we're never covering the second.
poor Zack Snyder. We love tearing his stuff apart.
Well, listen, 300 and Watchmen are pretty solid entries, but I think since then it's been
ever since Dawn of the Dead. Yeah, this guy can do no right with me.
Well, listen, Man of Steel and some of that other crap. So, but yes, it is dropping on Netflix this week.
And I would love to watch Poor Things, that new Emma Stone.
Poor Things or Pretty Things? Poor Things. Because I never heard of it, and then I saw the trailer for it, and I'm like, all right, this actually looks pretty cool. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But I don't think that's from what you just told me before we recorded.
It's like mid-January. It's like the 12th or something. Yeah.
Probably only playing in the big cities at this moment. Just, so they can get it out there like they do every year for your Oscar nominations. Just open it in a couple of theaters.
So right now we're the Poor Things.
Yes, we are.
Watch it.
We are. Although that looks like it'll be an investment. I think that's a long one. Maybe I'm confusing it.
Well, so is Rebel Moon. I think Rebel Moon's almost a 3-hour movie.
And then you were mentioning last time that you went to go see Napoleon. That was like a 3-hour
I did see Napoleon.
Yeah.
We do not need to talk about it. I don't need to watch it again. Yes.
So there you have it.
We've got some feelers out there. Like we mentioned off air as well. We haven't even talked Barbie yet.
Yeah, we haven't talked Barbie yet.
It just has not happened.
Yeah, the whole Barbenheimer thing made us choose one or the other. So ended up using Oppenheimer as our go-to movie that week.
Well, I will tell you, I also have, and they should be here hopefully within the week, so I can wrap them and put them under the tree for myself. Weird Al biography, Weird.
Okay.
Finally dropped on Blu-ray. And the Star Wars Holiday Special, A Disturbance in the Force.
Now, I'm very curious to see that because I want to know if it's like such a legitimate production that they can use footage from it, or they're just talking about it.
Yeah. From what I understand, it goes pretty deep. I know people who were involved in it and are actually in the documentary. So.
And if that's the case, if they were allowed to use footage from it, wouldn't it be fabulous if a bonus feature could just show the whole thing on that Blu-ray?
a cleaned up copy?
Yeah,
not something that I bought at back corner of a convention that was ripped off from a VHS tape from 1978.
Right.
I want it cleaned up.
Now, there was also a book entitled the same thing. Isn't there out there? Disturbance in the Force, about the same. I don't know if it's the same creators.
Right. You would think that it would be one and the same.
Yeah.
So, but I also recently just picked up a book from one of the lead animators who designed and worked on the original animated Boba Fett for that holiday special. So
I wonder if there's cell animations available on eBay for
this guy will do hand-drawn sketches for you. I think he's charging like $125, which is actually not bad. I paid maybe $30 for the book and it comes signed. And it's a lot of the original script notes. Now, this is not for the entire holiday special. It is for the Nelvana animated sequence that introduces Boba Fett.
Right.
So, but he's got character designs in there, original character designs and sketches for all those characters and a script with notes. And then he's got some behind the scenes stuff. So
yeah.
And I'm sorry, I'm drawing a blank on his name without going to my bookshelf and digging that out right now.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we got stuff lined up for the new year.
Good. All right.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to it.
Yes. 2024. Holy crap. Here we come. So let's end 2023 strong.
Yes.
As we already mentioned, happy holidays to everyone listening and happy new year. We'll catch you on the flip side.
Yes, we will. Thanks so much for listening.
Yes, as always. Thank you.
Bye. Hello, everybody. If you liked the podcast you just heard, then please follow TMI on all of our social media outlets. First and foremost, email us at tmipodcast2018@gmail.com. That is tmipodcast2018@gmail.com.
And you can follow us on Twitter at TMI_podcast2018. Stop over, say hi, give us a compliment. We'd love to hear from you.
Awesome. Make sure you follow us on Instagram as well, which is also TMI_podcast2018.
And of course, we are on Facebook, facebook.com/TMI Podcast 2018. And it should be noted, we also have a community page, so join the forum.
And if you like to watch YouTube, you can see us at TMI Podcast 2018, all one word. Look for the popcorn bucket.
Popcorn bucket. Or you could just go to our website, which has every link there, TMIconfessionalspodcast.com. And we'll see you at the concession stand.
We'll save some popcorn for you.
It's Herman Simon.
Herman Simon.